Hey everybody, I'm Morty,
And I'm Brian.
and we're about to make some more donut holes with Vito Andretti. Vito, I actually want to start this one off with a question for you.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
What is if you had to put it out there, what is the best rib you've ever done?
Or not done.
Well, there's a fun. I tell you what, I can tell you about the best rib that we never did, but we put a lot of thought into it.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, we used to wrestle down for old school wrestling down in Paducah, Benton, Kentucky. Down there, when you do that, you travel. It's a 4-hour drive, and you change time zones. But you go down the Western Kentucky Parkway, and you pass Eddyville Penitentiary, State Penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
And there's signs all along the road that say, don't pick up hitchhikers. They may be an escaped inmate and all this stuff. It's just really kind of scary.
It is really scary, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it is. And there was this guy that used to bug me all the time about, his name was Not Quite Right Ken.
Okay.
That was his wrestling gimmick.
Okay.
He would get on thing and be like, he had a hotline back when he had wrestling hotlines on the phone. He'd be like, mentally ill from Shepherdsville, thinking I won't, God damn it, I will suck somebody's dick. This is NQRK, Not Quite Right Ken. And he tried to wrestle. And he thought he was a wrestler, but he just couldn't get it. And we tried everything in the world to make him quit, even to the point one time we was running outlaw shows out of a toilet factory in Louisville, right? Without people with wrestling licenses and all this stuff. And we were making money doing it. And
Out of a toilet factory? That's awesome.
probably, huh?
Out of a toilet factory?
Yeah, an old abandoned toilet factory, the American Standard Toilet Factory.
Wow.
I got tons of stories about that place too. I got filleted through a curtain, but
We will keep that for next time, yes. Yeah.
well, yeah, but okay. So this guy, Not Quite Right Ken, he just couldn't get it. He was off in the head. Like, he would get a ride to the show and crawl out of somebody's trunk. Right? I was at his house and he'd be like, Sandra, bring me them pills. And she'd bring him a tray full of pills, and he'd just dump a bunch in his hands and take them and be like, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I just mixed them up. Right?
What?
Yeah. So he kept bugging us, and he's like, Vito, I got my wrestling license. And he goes, take me down, take me on shows with you. I'll pay you and all that stuff. And just bugging the shit out of me. And like I said, we tried to make him quit. Like, back when I was at the toilet factory, he was like, Vito, I want to do a shoot match with you. I was like, all right. So I get up in the ring. I'm like, come on. So he slides in the ring, and I just stomped the shit out of his shoulder, and I broke his shoulder before he could do anything. I wasn't going to get in there and let him swing on me, so he slid in. I just stomped his shoulder.
That's a shoot. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and broke it. But he would never quit. He would never, ever quit. His finishing move was called the smelly belly. He had a big old cut up the front of his belly where he jumped up, was hardcore wrestling in a backyard, jumped off of a garage, and a broken table leg went through his belly. So this guy was not quite right. Now, I got a ton of stories about Not Quite Right Ken, about the time that Jebediah Blackhawk was hitting golf balls out of his asshole against the shed. But that's another story. We're going to get to the rib that never happened. So we passed that place, and Jimmy, Damien, he could get real inmate gear. And we was like, man, we ought to get, because he'd used them in wrestling. He's like, here's what we do. Let's get one of them inmate robes, and let's tell Not Quite Right Ken that we're going down to old school wrestling, and we got to show up in our gimmicks. We got to dress and show up in our gimmicks because it's old school. They really believe it. And was like, we want you to do an inmate gimmick. And he was going all for it. And we were going to do it, and we just changed our minds because we thought we might end up in prison. We were going to get him to dress as the inmate, go down there, and beat the shit out of him in the match. But then he was always on pills, but we were just going to keep giving him pills. Get him fucked up. And then the plan was, as we're passing Eddyville, the plan was to go, what the fuck is that noise coming from the car? What the fuck is that noise? God damn it! That's Buck. Can you hear that? You hear that, Ken? Oh yeah. But when we were going to tell him get out and check it, and when he got out, we were just going to drive off and leave him there all fucked up in an inmate outfit, wandering by the state fed on the federal penitentiary or state penitentiary down the highway. Because somebody would have called and the cops would have showed up and all that shit.
God.
And but we couldn't do it because he's like, he might stumble on the highway and get killed to the cops, and he's going to be like, I'm a wrestler, and they're going to be like, what the fuck? We really thought it out, and Mickey Odell with, because I was going to do it, I didn't give a shit, but Mickey's like, hold on, Vito, we gotta, so we didn't do that.
Dang.
But it would have been fabulous.
You would have ribbed so many people, not just him, not just you get the police, you get the people in the penitentiary. They'd be like, imagine when he got to the pen, they'd be like, wait, where the hell did this guy come from? He's not on our roster. That would be hilarious. Oh,
yeah, it's great in theory, but it's great on paper. But I don't know what we could have gotten in some trouble for that shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But we could be like, he just told us he wanted to get out of the car, and I don't know. It was too much risk. So we didn't do that
not enough
one.
Reward. Yeah. Understandable.
But it would have been epic, would it have not?
Oh yeah.
That's a funny one. That.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, not quite right, Ken. That guy. I got to tell the next story about it. What's on my mind?
All right. Go ahead.
You want to start the donut hole thing?
No, we'll just do it right here. We'll just keep the.
All right, we'll keep going with the not quite right, Ken. All right. Guido was living out in a trailer park out off Dixie Highway. He calls me up. He goes, God damn it, Vito, I'm going to have to fight these motherfuckers across the street. These motherfuckers, I need somebody to come, and, it's just me and the wife and the kids. And so, I called Jebediah Blackhawk, and this is, we can put names in this one. I called Jebediah Blackhawk, and me and him is the only two I can get. So we're going out the door. I'm going out the door at my house, and my phone rings. I answer it, and he goes, "Hey, Vito." I'm like, "Oh shit, Ken, what's up?" And he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Man, I'm getting ready to go out to Guido's house to fucking fight somebody. You want to go?" And he's like, "Yeah," because my thing was, if we get in a fight, I'm just going to push him in front of him, and So we go out there, and there ain't no fight. And he lived in a trailer park, and Treasure, Melissa, his wife at the time, they had some stuff. We ended up drinking, all right? And Ken was drinking Mad Dog 2020 and beer and all kind, whatever the hell he could get. And he's all fucked up. And we're standing out there on the little deck. And this is like summertime. And he goes, "Vito, what's that?" He goes, "Man, you got that taser in your car, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Man, I want to do some jackass stuff. I want y'all to tase my dick." And we're like, "What?"
Okay.
He goes, "Yeah, tase my dick." So there's like, 7 or 8 of us out there. And we're like, all right, fuck it. So I get the taser and I go over there and he pulls his pants down and a little shriveled and bunch of way too much hair, no manscaping at all. It was rather pathetic. It was even worse than mine. So Guido says, I'm like, "I'm not doing it." And Jeb's like, "I'm not doing it." And Trevor's like, nobody was doing it. And fucking Guido, monkey, goes, "Fuck it, I'll do it." And he starts tasing Ken's junk, right? And Ken's going, tasing it. And I swear to gosh, his pubes were smoking. Right? So he's like, "I've had enough of that," right? And he goes, "I want to do some more jackass stuff," and this, that, and the other. And Jeb, Monkey has some golf clubs, and I'm like, "Hey, Ken, lay down on the ground, pull your pants down, and stick a golf tee up your butt, and let Jeb hit golf balls off your ass, out of your ass."
Oh my God.
So Jeb starts hitting golf balls out of his ass, and next thing I know, Treasure shoved the beer bottle up his butt, got him to butt chug a beer, and so the night winds down, and I got to drive Jebediah Blackhawk and Ken home. So we're riding home, and Ken's in the back seat running his mouth, and he wouldn't shut up about Chris Hero. Oh, Chris Hero, Chris Hero, Chris Hero. And this was at the time the Hero was working for Ian, and, you know, I'm a former OVW guy, and I'm like, man, fuck Chris Hero. Next thing I know, Ken's in the back seat, Jeb's in the passenger seat. Ken punches me in the back of the fucking head, like right in the back of my brain stem. And I'm like, oh, fuck. And I about swear, I'm like, fuck. And I'm out on Newburgh Road.
Oh, no.
Which is kind of a rough part of town, and I see a car wash, so I just pull over in a car wash, like whip through and fucking like driving over grass and shit to get in it. And Jeb's going, Vito, no. And I get out of the car and open the back door, and I just start pummeling him with forearms, elbows to his face, and just lighting him up. And Jeb pulls me off of him, right? He's like, Vito, you're going to kill him. And we look in the car, and Ken is laying knocked out across my son's baby seat, blood and snot all over him, knocked out, done pissed all over himself, covered in piss. So I'm like, get this motherfucker out of my car. So I grab him and pull him, and he falls out of the car on his face with his 2 feet under the back seat. You know what I'm talking about? Like his feet are hung under the back seat. He flopped out on his face.
Oh, my God.
And he's laying there, and I'm like, this motherfucker. And I start fucking kicking him. And Jeb's like, get back, Vito. And Jeb pulls his feet out. He lays there, he goes, what are we going to do with him? I said, I don't know, fuck him. And I grabbed him by his feet and drug him across the concrete on his face by his feet about 15 feet and left him laying in the middle of the car wash. And we're driving home. And I'm like, oh my God. And Jeb's like, you killed him. Fuck, what the fuck? and I'm going, I don't know, fuck him, that motherfucker. And then I'm bitching. I'm like, he got blood and snot and piss all over the back of my fucking car. And Jeb's like, well, you kind of did that. I'm like, no, fuck him. He punched me. He could have killed us all. Fuck him. And so we're like, man, let's get something to drink. So we pull in the gas station, and there's 7 million cops, right? And we're like paranoid. Oh, fuck. So we get our shit and go, and we get back in the car. I take Jeb home. We're both fucking scared to death. And I'm laying there in bed with my wife. It's about 5 o'clock in the morning. I get a phone call. Answered. I'm like, you know, I'm thinking it might be police or whatever. I get a phone call, and it's Ken. He goes, Vito. I'm like, what's up, Ken? He goes, I'm not mad at you for whooping my ass. I'd have whooped my ass too, he said, but I was crawling on my hands and knees across Newburgh Road, and Louisville police picked me up and took me home. You know, I told them I got jumped. Told him I got jumped by some black guys. He didn't use the word black guy. But so I'm like, he's like, I'm not mad at you and whatever. And I'm like, you know, Ben, fuck you, whatever. Hang up. And the next day, Lowrider calls me about 6 o'clock. He goes, no, it was closer to noon, 1 o'clock. He's like, Vito. I'm like, what's up? He goes, man, why'd you beat the hell out of Ken? So I told him the story. He's like, man, I'm at his house. His face looks like a damn basketball. The side of his face, his eyes were all closed up, broke his jaw, and all that shit. So that's a not quite right Ken story.
Oh, man. Not quite right Ken.
And he still didn't quit. He still wanted to do wrestling.
Man.
He was great, though. He used to steal, like, Ian Rotten's hotline. He used to hack everybody's hotlines, and because there was a code you had to put in. He was a character. I took him to one time I took him to a gay bar, and we sat in the gay bar, and we was walking around popping stink bombs in the gay bar, and everybody was dancing. We're popping stink bombs, and they asked him for his ID because he looked like a homeless guy. His hair was like dirty clothes and stuff, and then there was a time I took him to the haunted house with me. The what was it called? The Baxter Avenue Morgue.
Okay.
And I take him. You know how you go in line in the thing, you know, through a haunted house. Well, Kim was behind me. The next thing I know, he's not behind me, and I'm like, the fuck. And then one of the workers from the thing brings him back out to the line because he got lost and wandered off in a haunted house. Yeah, not quite right, Ken. You meet some characters in wrestling, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Well, thank you again. This was a long episode today, but I appreciate it. Have a good
The
one.
legend of Not Quite Right Ken lives on.
Thank you.
No problem.
Hey, everybody, it's Morty.
It's Brian.
And thank you for watching today's episode of Developmentally Speaking.
If you could, please click that subscribe button.
And don't forget to punch that bell icon so you can get notified whenever we go live or drop a new video every Monday. Well, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll see you on the next
Developmentally Speaking.